Hey everybody, Alex Swire-Clark here, emotional intelligence expert, author, and award-winning speaker, here talking to you about emotional intelligence and how you can apply it to your personal and professional life. So in today's episode, which is episode number 100, by the way, oh man, I never thought I'd make it to 100. That's kind of crazy. When I started this thing back in, whenever it was, back in 2018, the goal was to, hey, we're going to put out an episode every week, and we did that pretty consistently for about a year, and then speaking engagements and everything else, life gets in the way and that kind of thing. So still continuing to offer you content because that's what we do here on the channel.
Yes.
So we have already talked about 2 parts to hiring success. And those were, and also part 2 is all about, I'm just messing. So no, really, parts 1 and 2. In the description below, you can take a look and find a link to those 2 first parts of how to hire people effectively and keep them on your team for a long time. So today in part 3, we're talking about resume busting. How do we get to the bottom line in terms of how these candidates perform? Because a resume can tell us lots of things, but it can also tell us lies. That's right. It can say things that are embellished a little bit or whatever. So how do we get people to prove that what the resume says is what they can actually do? And there's a very, very simple way to do that. And we're going to talk about it in today's episode. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome back, everybody. If you are new to the channel, we would love for you to subscribe. I would love for you to subscribe. The world would love for you to subscribe to the channel as we continue to provide you content that's going to help you both personally and professionally. So again, part 3 today, how do we prove that people are going to be able to do what the resume says they can do? So they've got this experience, they've got this background, they've got this education, but what can they do? I mean, can they prove that they can do what they can do? Well, there's a very, very simple way we can do that. And a good speaking associate of mine, Brad Remillard, talks about this all the time. And we've used it in our company very, very successfully through the years. And that is put people in the role before they get the role. Put people in the role before they get the role. So in our company, again, this is kind of step 3 of the process. I want folks to be able to prove to me that they can do medical billing because I'm the CEO of a medical billing business. So no matter if they're building claims, which means they're taking what the doctor or the provider says in their chart note and extrapolating what that means and sending it off to the insurance companies, whether that means that they can post payments effectively in terms of, well, this was adjusted off. Was that done correctly? Was it not? Was this really supposed to go to deductible? Has their deductible already been met? Is it from the follow-up side where they're looking to see, why was this claim denied? And well, this person's still in network and the doctor is still under contract. So, this is the rate we normally charge and you didn't pay for that insurance company, bad insurance company. So we just walk through those things. So all those people have very specific niche roles in our company. How can we make sure they can do those before we bring them on? If they say that in the resume. So what we do is, again, we put them in the role before they get the role. So what I do is I have them take a medical billing assessment. So it's approximately, I think, 50 questions. I think it's 50 questions. 50 questions. They have 45 minutes. And they have to go through and prove to us that they know coding, that they know billing, that they can read an explanation of benefits and walk through that. They're on a timer. So we use Test Moz as our application we use online. It gives them 45 minutes. And they can use any tools they want to. But the majority of the time, probably 90% of the people that take that do not receive a passing score because they're in customer service in somewhere else or they've done HR work or whatever. They say, oh yeah, I can do medical billing. It shouldn't be that hard. Fail.
Epic fail.
It just doesn't happen. So in those instances, I'm getting people, again, to self-select. If you've watched the first 2 videos, we are all about people self-selecting out so that my funnel continues to get smaller and smaller. And the smaller the funnel gets, the better the candidates become. That way I'm not sitting down and looking at every Tom, Dick, and Harry and resume and whatever. I can just get people at the very, very beginning of the process, which is, again, we're on step 3, to self-select out because they don't have the skills or the experience enough to be able to do those kind of things. So they go through, they take their assessment, they either pass or fail, and that gets them moving on to the next process. And again, I haven't touched this. This is all online. This is all, as soon as they start, the timer begins. And as soon as they stop, the timer's over. They either met the time or they didn't. The program does that for us. So it's a super, super way to keep track of all of our candidates and make sure that funnel is getting smaller with more qualified folks. And so if they can do what they say they can do, they have the right to move forward. And then I don't have to wonder, well, once I get them on board, am I going to have to train them a lot? Or oh, well, their resume said they worked at this hospital over here and they were doing this, but all they did was just patient intake. So basically they were handing out forms, typing in data. Well, that's not medical billing. It's a part of medical billing. Demographics entry, super important, but that's not billing. I mean, billing and coding are two very distinctive things, and you've got to be able to do one of those, one or the other, if you're in our world and in our role. So from that perspective, I can't hire those folks. They just don't have the experience that we need for them to be able to start immediately. Now, if it's a project and I've got someone who is limited in their experience and it's something that's a little bit more, with my job benchmarking from part 2, if it's a little bit more data entry, then maybe I can bring those people in. Not going to be a whole lot of training time, basic skills required, basic communication skills, typing, and that kind of thing. That's a totally different story. But if I'm in the world of medical coding and I've got to know the difference between a 99213 and 214 based upon medical complexity and linking ICD-10 codes properly to the correct CPT code, that's a skill set. And you just don't walk off the street and know that skill set. It's got its own lexicon that any other specialized industry would have, and medical billing does the same thing. So again, hiring is super painful because people can kind of fudge a resume. People can talk about themselves in a certain way that makes them seem better at a certain skill set than they are. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we are making sure folks can communicate, putting people in the right seats on the bus, and then as we go through this thing with core values and everything else, now we start talking about skills. And skills matter, of course, but if they can't produce on a very limited scale with being able to say, yes, I can do what this job requires, then they're not going to be able to good fit. Now, your industry might be automotive. You might be in customer service. You might be in property management. So you can come up with your own ways to test that. For example, let's say you are a produce company. And so you're bagging produce and getting it shipped off to the retailers and things like that. Well, those machines that they use to bag, that you load, they do what they have to do. And a person says they have experience on that. Well, have them sign a waiver, have them sign a hold harmless clause, and then go put them out on a machine with a supervisor for 15 minutes and say, all right, what can you tell me about this machine? How do you operate this thing? What are the safety measures involved? You've said on your resume that in the past you've had to commit to safety and protocols. What'd you do? I mean, how does that apply to this machine right here? So that gets people thinking, that gets people understanding, hey, either I can do this or I can't. And so that lets you not waste your time any further, because imagine if you don't do that, right? You don't do that. And you bring someone on, oh, this person looks good on resume, their little 30-minute interview was wonderful, let's hire them. Because I basically need a warm body right now. I need people on machines. Well, when you do that, and then they're out there on the job, and in the first 5, 6, 7 days, they're on the kind of struggle bus, and your training coordinator's like, gosh, this person they should be able to do this, right? That's what the resume said. And now you spent 7 days, and okay, well, let's wait another 7 days to give them a chance, and then okay, well, let's give them a little bit of warning here at day 21, and then okay, well, day 28 they're just not getting it done. Do we invest more time in training or whatever? And you're 30 days in before you even blinked, and if that person's not going to work out, you've just wasted time, effort, energy, all that kind of good stuff on a person that wasn't a fit in the first place that you could have identified, right? You could have identified that. So anyway, I'm beating a dead horse here, but part 1, available in the description below. Part 2, available in the description below. Part 3, put people in the role before they get the role. Again, like any videos that you find here, subscribe. We would love to have you subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. And again, we're here for you for all your personal and professional needs when it comes to emotional intelligence and how to apply it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.